Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Stephen Porter. He's Community Outreach Specialist for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State. We'll meet him when we come back, so stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today, a first-timer on the show, Stephen Porter, Community Outreach Specialist for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State. First of all, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me in.
So everybody's heard of Big Brothers Big Sisters, but I wanted to kind of clear up a little confusion right off the bat for those that may not know. There's also a separate sort of Big Brothers of Rhode Island, and you're not really affiliated, but you do work together.
We work together, yes.
Talk about it a little bit.
Sure. Our organization, most people know as Big Sisters.
Okay.
We were founded in 1967. In fact, some of the founders are still involved in the organization today. And at the time, there was a Big Sisters of Rhode Island and a Big Brothers of Rhode Island. Big Brothers of Rhode Island still exists, but has a very specific mission in the types of boys that they deal with. And our association, about 2 years ago, made the decision to change our name and also kind of pick up some of the boys who were looking for mentors that Big Brothers of Rhode Island couldn't help. So we changed our name to Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State.
So it's a very symbiotic relationship then with Big Brothers of Rhode Island, then, because you're helping out.
We work together behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's good. So, okay, for those that may not know the organization Big Brothers Big Sisters, let's talk about it in general terms. What is it? What is its mission?
Well, Big Brothers Big Sisters of America is the largest mentoring organization in the country, and it provides services to thousands of kids, provide that big brother or that big sister, that mentor, to help kids with good choices, keep them in school, and just give them that shoulder, you know, that person to talk to.
And it's been around for a long time, hasn't it?
The organization, I believe, is over 100 years old.
Wow.
And it came together as Big Brothers Big Sisters in the 70s. And its national headquarters is in Philadelphia. And there are over 350 branches, of which we are Rhode Island's.
And Big Brothers Big Sisters is actually international as well, isn't it?
It is.
Wow, so it's all over the world.
It's everywhere.
That's impressive. So what was the reason there was sort of a split after a while, and then sort of in certain cases kind of came back together?
I don't think there was ever a split.
No?
I think they just founded separately
Okay.
in the early part of the century. And it took to the 70s to come together, and probably just for common sense purposes to save on resources and work together.
So that was so that's sort of like the national background. How about a little bit more on Rhode Island specifically?
Sure. Big Sisters of Rhode Island was formed, as I said, in 1967. Just a couple of years ago, we became Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State. We have several hundred boys and girls that we serve and provide mentors to that range from all over Rhode Island, including a good portion of southeastern Connecticut and a small portion of southwestern Massachusetts.
So I'm wondering, in this day and age, and especially in the economy the way it is, are you finding that your services are more in need than ever?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
There doesn't seem to be any end to the supply of kids
Yeah.
who could use a good mentor. There are boys and girls of all ages who are sign up for our programs that we know are out there. And the economy certainly hasn't helped.
Right.
And every day we uncover a new need, a new community, a new group of kids who we think could benefit from a new mentor in their life.
And your reach is wide. It's not just Rhode Island. I understand you go deep into southeastern Connecticut as well?
We do. We
Okay.
do. We cover areas from Norwich to New London, through Mystic and Stonington, and all the communities in between.
Okay, so that's a pretty impressive. It's almost, that's really halfway up eastern Connecticut there too, going up to Norwich, so that's pretty impressive. You mentioned all ages. Is there a specific lower end and upper end on the age group?
We suggest ages 7 to 15
Okay.
as to sign up for the program. I think children under the age of 7 may not benefit from the value of a mentor in their life.
Right.
They just don't understand it yet. It's still a little bit more like playtime.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then older kids, certainly there are a lot more distractions in their life. And as they get 16, 17, 18, they're going to go off many times on their own.
They kind of don't want a mentor or sort of a big brother or big sister at that point.
Right, and I think that that key age group makes a big difference.
Now, do you find yourself, because of what you do and the needs of the kids that come to your service? Is it a certain economic background that most of them are from, or does it range from upper end to lower income kids and families?
There is quite a range.
Yeah.
We certainly see our share of lower income families who are in need of a mentor, but it really is the whole range. I don't think there is any one particular area. It's all races, all ages, both sexes, and all backgrounds who come to us. Their kids come to us and say, you know what, we could use a mentor in our life, or this child could use a mentor. Sometimes it's through a referral from a school or an agency, but most times it's just the parents who contact us and say, we really think our son or daughter would benefit from this.
Now, do you also go through the school systems as well, or is it strictly parents will contact your office?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. We do have relationships with the different schools and the state agencies, so they know we're there. If they identify a child who might be in need of a service like this, they know to contact us.
All right, so let's get to the nuts and bolts of it. How does the process work? We'll get to the matching aspect of it in a little bit, but like, what is the first thing that happens? A parent and a child, I guess, decide that a mentor would be a good thing in the child's life. So the parent gives you a call. How does the process begin?
Well, a parent will give us a call, and we'll give them some paperwork, and we'll certainly talk with them and explain how the program works. We want to make sure from the parent's perspective they understand that this is not a babysitting service, it's not a matchmaking service, it is a mentoring program. And
now, what does that mean exactly, mentoring program? Because like you said, you don't want them to think the wrong thing about what you provide.
Right, it's a one-on-one program where one mentor can work with one child and provide them guidance.
Right, so it's not like all the parents' kids get taken care of by the mentor.
No, it's not at all. I mean, one of the things, probably one of the biggest challenges we have, is to make sure everyone's expectations when they come in, the mentor, the volunteer, the parent, and the child are all on the same page.
Is there misconceptions about what the service provides?
Sometimes, sometimes I think that a lot of volunteers think they're going to get stuck with a troubled child that they're not going to be able to handle, and that doesn't happen very often. The parents are concerned that their kids are going to be turned over to crazy.
Right.
That doesn't happen either. It really is a terrific program for everybody, and everybody benefits.
So since you brought that particular subject up, I'm sure you have a very stringent vetting process for your mentors, for your volunteers before they even get involved in the program itself. Talk about that a little bit.
We do. We want to make sure that everybody is covered. That not only does the child going to be matched with a safe mentor, but also that the parent's house is also a safe place, so that no one is at risk at any time during the process. And the most important part of that are our program coordinators, who throughout the match and throughout the relationship with that child and that mentor communicate. Every time they get together, they talk. How's it going? How's the child doing? How's the match doing? How's the parent doing? How's the volunteer doing?
Volunteer with your staff are always talking.
Yes, the volunteer, the parent, and also even the child too.
Right. And not every case is a match made in heaven, I would imagine. It's just a fact of life that there isn't always going to be chemistry between two individuals, right?
Oh, sure.
And then, so how do you handle that?
Well, that's where really our program coordinators get involved. They do such a terrific job of making sure that there's a good match to begin with. If you're a football player and the child is a violinist, it might not work out. You're going to probably be on a different plane.
Right.
So they do a good job of managing those expectations and making sure we match up kids and mentors that make sense. And from then they're also responsible for covering all the background checks. We have a very stringent and thorough process. We work with a number of different companies and systems to make sure, to the best of our ability.
And also you make the parent more comfortable that way too.
Absolutely.
Does it make sense to have maybe, for example, a child on the younger end of the spectrum be with a somewhat younger mentor, or vice versa? Does that matter at all? Or?
I don't think it does. It really doesn't. It's a lot of it has to do with, again, the parents' expectations and what they want for their child, and what the mentor and the volunteer comes in and says, this is the kind of, I need a very active child, or I need a very quiet child. It's all a matter of matching those expectations the right way.
Now, a volunteer, someone who is a mentor, what kind of, does it matter like what their financial background is, what the, what particular town they live in. How does all that work? I mean, that's all part of the vetting process, but are there certain requirements going into it?
Not at all.
Really?
Not at all. We'll take all backgrounds, all economic backgrounds. It's just that desire to help kids.
Right.
That's important.
Are you always looking for more? Is there a shortage of mentors?
There's always a shortage of mentors.
So there's more kids than there are mentors available.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is that's where most of our efforts and our concerns are continually recruiting and trying to find more people who are willing to step up and be that mentor and make that difference.
Okay. Why don't you give out the website so people can go and learn a little bit more? We'll take a break and come back.
Sure. The website is Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State, which is www.bbbsos.org.
All right. Graphic up on the screen as well. Stephen Porter, Community Outreach Specialist for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State. We'll take a break and come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay with us. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest is Stephen Porter. He's Community Outreach Specialist for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State. And we were learning about the organization, the mentors, the volunteers. One question for you.
Sure.
As far as sort of a time commitment for the volunteers, for the mentors to put in, obviously you don't want them to kind of rush in and out, and you want to actually have them make a commitment to it for a little while. So talk about that.
We do. Well, we ask initially that you, when you sign up to be a mentor, that you stay on at least 1 year.
Okay.
But we don't want it to be disappointing to the child. We don't want just the moment that relationship does take off. We don't want the mentor to suddenly leave their lives. That can cause as much trouble.
Right. Could be disheartening and
And that only makes sense. But the amount of time it takes to be a mentor is really only a few hours every week or two. I mean, it's not a lot. And one of the things we try to tell people is we don't need you to volunteer time. What we need you to do is share your time. Because everyone already does things that they have fun doing. They might play basketball on Friday nights. They might go to the library on Saturdays.
So all you're doing is including somebody else in with
Exactly.
what you already do.
Exactly. And it doesn't cost you any more time, and the impact you have on that child's life is dramatic.
Let me ask a question. If a relationship really works out between a child and a mentor, can their friendship continue on after the time allowed through the organization's program?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
I'm sure it has happened.
I can tell you, for a fact, I can point to several matches who come back to us. We might hold a fundraiser, for example, and then the big will come to the fundraiser with their little, but the little is now 20 years older, and they've kept that friendship for 5, 10, 15, 20 years.
So how about this? Has a little ever become a volunteer or mentor themselves after a while?
Very, very often they
Yeah?
do. Very often they do.
That's
And
great. That's the epitome of success.
It
gotta
is,
be,
and I think that if you ask to the person, anyone who has been a big, and anyone who's been a little, what that means to the both of them, you will almost 100% of the time just get an earful about what a wonderful thing it is.
That's fantastic. So you mentioned fundraising a moment ago. Big Brothers Big Sisters is certainly, it's a nonprofit, so it has to generate funding somehow. So let's talk about some of the ways that you do that.
Sure. I think most people know us, even in our days as Big Sisters, as the company or the nonprofit that calls you and asks you for your clothes.
Right.
We collect secondhand clothing, household items, toys.
Gently used, right?
Gently used.
Right.
Toys, games, all those things that we use to help fund the programs that we administer.
Now, if there's anything, do things get put right out in sort of a display or showroom right away, or do you allow for any kind of a fixing or adjustment on certain things, or how does that work as far as what you'll be allowed to take in and then resell?
What we tell people is if you're not sure, we'll take it and let us figure it out.
Okay.
But we have a partnership arrangement with a retail company called Savers. And what they do is we collect the items and then they retail them for us, and that just allows us not to have to run our own retail stores.
Right.
So it's a great partnership that allows us to fund our programs through these collections.
So the clothes, the collections, the merchandise, that's one way you fund yourselves, but you also have specific fundraisers, right?
We do.
And you have one coming up.
We do. We have one coming up on October 13th.
Now, if you're watching this show in Connecticut, maybe the date is already passed, but that's okay. Still opportunities for you if you wanted to be involved as a mentor or volunteer, or have your child be involved. Certainly, you can go to the website. But let's talk about the event.
Sure, I'd be happy to. On October 13th at the Johnson and Wales University Museum of Culinary Arts, which if you've never been in that museum, it's an amazing place. We're going to be doing what we call the Big Toast, which is a sampling event with different wineries and distilleries and Providence restaurants with some entertainment. And we even have a few celebrity chefs who will be coming in to provide free samples. And this will be on Saturday, October 13th from 7 to 11 p.m. at the museum.
And all the proceeds go to Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State?
It does.
And so did you have to get in touch with the wineries and places to have them donate their product to be a part of this? How did that work?
Oh, we do. We've got a committee behind that works very hard behind the scenes to make those relationships happen and get those companies on board to help us out.
Are you involved in the organizing of this?
Very much so.
How far in advance do you have to plan for one of these events?
Well, this is one of our what we started to do annually. So we're planning all year long, and we also have a larger event which we call our annual gala, which we hold in Newport typically each year.
Beautiful.
And that's our big gala fundraiser and our awards ceremony and our annual.
What is that? Is that later in the year? Or?
That happens in April.
Okay. So it's a spring event then.
Right. So if people are hearing this show and aren't able to come on October 13th, certainly. Look us up and join us in the spring.
And certainly the website will have all the list of the events and things of that sort on there for upcoming events. So we talked about the website a little bit, and one thing that we were talking about off the air is social media, which is so important for organizations, companies now, because everybody's on it. You know, we mentioned that a website is nice and it's important, but it's somewhat static compared to the connectivity of a Facebook type social network. Talk about that and how important it is for an organization like Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State.
Sure. I mean, I think every day it gets a little more important. People like their information and they want it now, they want it instant. And people who want to know about what's happening in our organization, they can log onto Facebook. They see almost daily updates on what's happening, updates on what's happening with fundraisers, stories about kids who have succeeded. We're about to make our announcements in a few days about our Big Brother and Big Sister of the Year. And so all those things, and you really can become part of what we do through Facebook or Twitter or in Pinterest now.
Right, yeah.
We're starting to get
I can't even keep up with all the social networks that are available out there. And you can almost, like you mentioned, updates, you can almost do it quicker on Facebook than you can even on your own website.
I mean, it's a great way to contact, suddenly just, we need to get a message out to several hundred people right now.
Yeah.
It's very
I'm not going to call them. What do I do? Put it on Facebook, because they're all going to be on there sooner or later, right?
Exactly.
Especially the younger set, especially the kids, because they're really all about social media. Even young guy invented it in the first place. So we talked about the process of being a mentor, being a volunteer in that capacity, but I would imagine you're also looking for people to help out in other capacities within the organization. May not necessarily be a mentor per se, right?
Oh, there are so many ways that people can get involved. I mean, our number one need, and it is always going to be, we need people to volunteer to be mentors. We need you to step up and make that commitment in a child's life. But we're always looking for other things. We need businesses to help us, either financially or even just letting us borrow a parking space in your parking lot where we can put one of our collection bins. That's a huge help. Or a company that might be able to sponsor an activity. One of the things that we do that I hadn't mentioned is our matches get together, and they have activities about once a month. So they might go horseback riding, or they might all go to a ball game together, or they might do something, just have a Halloween party or play some board games.
And these are events that are sponsored by Big Brothers Big Sisters. It's not just those two getting together and deciding on something, right?
Right. We actually have a little match activities committee made up of bigs.
Right.
And they decide and they get together collectively. So if you volunteer to be a mentor, not only you don't have to create and think up all these crazy exotic things to do, we even have events set up for you.
So in those cases, a lot of times a mentor can meet other mentors and the kids can meet other kids and socialize that way.
Exactly
too,
right. Exactly right.
That's got to be beneficial.
And it helps the kids and it helps the mentors as they start to network and talk to each other, and it instantly answers all the little questions.
So sort of a real life social network there,
exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Now you mentioned businesses and your need to have them help out financially in other ways. And we talked earlier about the economy. Because of the way things are now, is it you finding it more difficult for them to be willing or able to donate financially, or even in some other capacity?
I think it's a challenge for every nonprofit right now in this economy and in this era. We always have, and we're so grateful to the companies that do support us year after year. But we always have that need for more. So much of our effort goes into recruiting and maintaining these programs that without that support, things are going to get cut back pretty dramatically.
Tell me what the day-to-day duties are of the community outreach specialist.
I don't think I've had 2 days the same, in the
right?
last
But that's a
year.
good thing, though. I mean, that's
never
the kind of job
boring.
you like, right?
Well, that's my job. I think number one is communications, to make sure everybody knows what we're doing,
Get
what
the
we're
word
up
out.
to, coming on programs like this, and knowing that we have fundraisers, that we need mentors. People will see me out at events, business networking. Almost every night there's an event somewhere with a group of business people, and I want them to know what we're up to and what we're doing. I'm handling, advertising and marketing functions and special events and social media, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, you said you even oversee website and, like you said, the social media aspects of it.
I do.
And of course, de facto PR guy coming on shows like this, and all in to get the word out. But then also, do you? You said everybody. When you're talking about a nonprofit, everybody is involved with fundraising. From
It is.
From the guy at the top down to the guy licking envelopes, I guess, right?
Exactly. I mean, it is. I mean, it's always a group effort. We have got a terrific staff, and we always work together very, very well to put these events on. And everybody comes from different backgrounds and different places, so their experiences and the people they know, it just contributes to better events. And I tell you, we held the best events. We have the best events of any nonprofit.
There you go. As the needs change, the needs of society and kids in general change over the course of time that you've been there, and since the organization has existed, how has it evolved into what it is today? A little different than it was early on?
I'm sure it has, but the fundamental tenets are the same, which is it helps kids make better decisions. The problems of society might change, but the kids, as a 10 or 11-year-old, still has to make a good decision, and they still need someone to look up to, and that hasn't changed in 100 years.
Right.
They need to stay in school.
That's
and
important.
This program helps them do that. They need to feel good about themselves, and those things are universal.
Yeah. So if someone's watching, whether it's a parent maybe interested in getting their child involved, or someone on the other end maybe wanting to be a mentor because they're inspired by this program, or volunteer in some other way, what do they do?
All they would have to do is contact us. If we're looking, again, our need is always for volunteer mentors first. Just contact us, call us, log onto our website, and we'll be happy to send out all the information right away, so that you can kind of think about it and peruse it, and we've got plenty of people at our office to help answer questions. We also do have special committees to help us put on our fundraisers and some other things, so if your talents are more in that direction, we'd certainly be happy to talk to you there too.
Now, where's your office located?
Our office, our corporate office, is in Cranston.
Cranston.
We also have a donation center there in Cranston where you can drop things off. We have a second donation center which we just opened in Middletown, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So we can collect, again, the clothing and shoes and toys and things can be dropped off right there at that location too.
And you were mentioning that you were hoped, because you go down into southeastern Connecticut, that maybe you can get at least start with a donation center down there as well, and just to sort of be at your outer edge of where you serve, and because it's far encompassing, it's surprising.
Yeah, someday we would like to have an office in the southern Rhode Island,
Right.
southeastern Connecticut area. We're looking at that at different locations now. But even now, our trucks are out here every
Right.
day
Right.
picking things up. So you can certainly help our program. We have a number of bigs and littles who live
Right.
out in this area.
And the number one thing right now is not enough mentors, or actually there's probably a waiting list of kids because there's not enough mentors. Right?
There are.
Right.
And it's, some of the things we've done, the number changes, but it could be as many as 100 kids that are waiting.
Yeah.
And one of the things we launched, which I had meant to mention earlier, was a new program called Big Couples, which is our program has always benefited from that one-on-one relationship, but we also realize in the modern age you don't have the time and you might need a little help. So if you wanted to bring your spouse in as a partner
Right.
in that one-to-one relationship, it doesn't hurt the child at all to see what a healthy relationship might look like, and still they'll benefit from the same way that a one-on-one relationship might. So that's a new option for people who might be thinking about it, but might feel like they don't have the time to commit.
One more time on the website.
Sure, it's bbbsos.org.
Stephen Porter, Community Outreach Specialist for Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Ocean State. Pleasure having you on the show today.
Thanks for having me in. I appreciate that.
And thank you for joining us for another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. We will see you next time. Take care.